Welcome to Eat, Sleep, Wine, Repeat, a podcast for all you wine lovers who, if you're like me, just cannot get enough of the good stuff. I'm Yanina Dore, your host, brand ambassador, wine educator, and sommelier. So stick with me as we dive deeper into this ever-evolving, wonderful world of wine. And wherever you are listening to this, cheers to you. Hello, wine friends, and welcome back. I'm very glad that you're here for part 2 of my conversation with the brilliant Thibaut Delmotte, head winemaker at the iconic Bodega Colomé in Salta, Argentina. Now, in this episode, we are continuing our journey through the extraordinary world of high altitude winemaking, comparing Malbecs across different Argentine regions, taking a closer look at the grape variety Bonarda, and gaining a deeper understanding of how altitude, isolation, and environment shape the wines and the people behind them. Bodega Colomé was recently recognised once again as one of the world's best vineyards, an honour they've now received 5 times. Thibaut shares what makes the Colomé experience so unforgettable, from the dramatic landscape and the architecture to the powerful sensory connection they have there between the wine, the art, and the land. We also talk about his exciting new personal project, Familia Delmotte, and how it represents a fresh vision alongside his long-standing work at Colomé. And if visiting this remote and magical estate is on your wine travel wish list, Thibaut gives a real sense of what it takes to get there and why it's so worth the journey. So pour yourself a glass of something inspiring and let's head back to Salta. I feel it's time to talk about Malbec in a little bit more detail, because this year marks the 23rd harvest of your Colomé Estate Malbec, which I have. I have the 2022. So I want to just talk to you about how has this wine evolved over the 2 decades. And we talked in the episode before about you really adapting your winemaking style for Torrontés. So how do you feel about what you do to Malbec up in the northern part of Argentina?
Yeah, well, definitely. Well, like you said, we have now 20 vintage already in the market, I would say, but now with 25 will be 23rd vintage. So we have we start to have a long experience of Malbec. And there is the Colomé estate is like our flagship of the Colomé. We're doing it since day one. And what I really like with this wine, when we make the anniversary, I make an entire vertical of the 2020 vintage. And I was very amazed of the consistency of the wine. Very style difference, definitely, but the consistency and quality is really, really amazing. So it's a wine you won't be disappointed if you have it. And the change of style follow a little bit also the general change of style of what the consumer likes. So if we try the first decade of the estate, definitely you will have a riper style, much more in the black fruit, spicy area. And also because from 2002 to 2010, it was made with our lower altitude Malbec. So it was Malbec from Calchaquí at 1,700 meters and Malbec from Colomé at 2,300 meters, which was too farm. The lower area in Calchaquí, will give more the ripe fruit, more ripe red fruit, but also very sweet tannins, but not so fresh, I would say. And after you have Colomé, which is much more complex with black fruit, spiciness, and because of the clay on alluvial matters, we have a very horizontal wine, I would say, a lot of persistency, but very nice freshness. So but the first decade of our estate was much more in the black fruit, the spiciness, and also the first until 2012, actually, it was a blend. So it wasn't 100% Malbec, even though we have 85% Malbec. So we put Malbec on the label, but we have 15% of other varietals: Tannat, Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, and Petit Verdot. So when you have an older vintage, you can feel those other varietals, particularly the Cabernet Sauvignon. Even though it's around 5 to 8%, you can really feel this herbal, fresh character of the Cabernet, give a lot of life to those old vintage, and the structure of the Tannat. And after this, what the first big change we have in the style of the estate is when the higher elevation farms start to produce. So the first one who start to produce is El Arenal at 2,600 meters. So El Arenal means the sandy place. So it's a very, very sandy area. So the sand will give you very direct, very bright fruit, but combined with high altitude, with the thermal amplitude, it also add a lot of minerality and floral note in the nose, so more complexity in the nose, but most important, a lot of acidity and tannin structure. So when we start to add the El Arenal to the estate, we start to do much fresher style of wine, but also more structured. And so that's, I would say, will be around 2010 to 2013. So we have 3 different altitudes. And in 2014, we start to add also Altura Máxima in the Colomé estate. And so that's now we have minerality, very vibrant, acidity, almost citric note from the Altura Máxima, but is really finishing to make the wine like very homogeneous, very harmonic. But the last big change is when we change our philosophy of style. So from the first estate, I would say, to the 2018, we are more in the ripe area. So all the estate will be much more in the black fruit camp, even if you have some floral, some minerality from the highest vineyard, but we're still in the ripe style. And 18 to now, we really start to change our philosophy, and we start to pick earlier and earlier and earlier, but always with ripeness. I don't like green character or under-ripe character in wine. We give you green harsh tannins. So always looking for the good maturity, but not underripe, not overripe. So it demands us much more precision in the vineyard on the picking date. But now you have to imagine we're picking an average of 1 month earlier than before, like 10 years ago, because of our change of philosophy, but also because it's getting warmer and warmer. No, also we have warmer climate now here, but mostly because we want having fresher style. So the wine that you have now, the big difference that the estate before, it's much more in the red fruit area, but also where we have a better expression of the more delicate aromas of the high altitude, the floral note, the minerality, the spiciness. And so it's much fresher, and also in the mouth, definitely. So it's still concentrate. We still high altitude Calchaquí Valley wine. We still have concentration. But I think what predominate, or what we want to show with the wine, is more the elegancy and the freshness. And of course, after this, I have to change my winemaking, because picking earlier, you have, I would say, not harsher tannins, but a little stronger tannins. So I have to do less extraction, less pumping over. I change all my barrels. Before this, I was medium plus toast, and because the very ripe wine really can absorb high toast. But now when I change the style of the wine, I start to have too much toast in the wine. So I change all to lighter toast and bigger size of barrels. And I think it make the oak helps to make rounder tannins, but I need the oak, but the oak never will dominate the wine. It's really a piece of the complexity of the wine.
It's been really interesting listening to you talk about what the different sites give to the Malbec flavors, and then because of you picking earlier, how you've had to change your winemaking because of the tannins and because of not wanting overpower toasty, oaky flavors. Because I'm tasting this now, and you're so right, there's a real plumminess, which I just generally get with Malbec, but then lovely red currants and rose hips. So there's that slightly herbal nature and red fruits coming into the mix. So, it's like, yeah, I'm getting that, along with a little bit of a muskiness, like this lovely musky perfume, and actually a bit of like mocha. So a bit of, I want to say, like ground coffee, and even like, and chocolate all together. So it's a really lovely, open, very pretty nose. But on the palate, this is the bit that got me. I was like, I felt like I wanted to describe the wine as slightly muscular, yet very fresh. And then reason I wanted to call it muscular was because the tannins, they're silky, but they're very, very present, and more present than other, say, average Malbecs, or I would say Malbecs that I typically
Yeah.
drink from
Yeah, exactly.
Mendoza. So it's not super full bodied, it's medium plus, I'd say, but with this lovely lavender and star anise mixing with all this fruit, but yet really lovely, interestingly complex, and a really interesting balance between muscular and then super fresh, having some grip but then dancing on the tongue. So that's lovely when I'm hearing all of these decisions that you've made for picking and then in the winery. It's
It's like,
intriguing.
before we have the French paradox, now we have the Calchaquí paradox. Because it's, generally speaking, or you have a concentration or you have the freshness. And the great thing of the Calchaquí, you have both. After, you have to manage it, of course, to have this kind of balance in the wine, because you can do monster of concentration or you can do very high acidity, greenish style. So it's always the most important part is the balance. And that's vineyard balance, definitely. You can't do any miracle in the winery. You need to have a great balance in the vineyard. So that's why all those Malbec that compose the component of the estate are quite low yield compared with other area. So of course, one more time with 4 different farms. So the lower area, we will have a better yield. I would say 9, maybe 10 tons per hectare. So it's a good yield. But Colomé, we will be at 2,000 meters. 2,000 meters, will be around 7 tons. El Arenal will be 6. And Altura Máxima, if we have 5, we are very happy. We try to do more. No, we want to do more. But the vineyard told you that no, if you want to do this style of wine with a great balance, you can't ask too much to the vineyard. It will be very unbalanced, won't ripe well, will have lower acidity. So the first thing, it's really this working, one more time, pruning, shoot positioning, and irrigation. Irrigation is really the key, because you can, if you have enough water, you can give water, and you have much more crop, and but you have more dilute, less freshness. So the irrigation is very, very important. And now after, the picking date, and how I respect this great fruit in the winery, my job basically to bring this great fruit to the bottle. That's without losing too much in the way. And but the work in the vineyard, that's what we learned in 20 years. Every farm, and I would say every block in every farm is different. So you have to do a very precise vineyard managing in the viticulture in the vineyard to have this very balanced fruit.
See, now, you've just described alone your 4 sites at all different altitude levels, and this is in one area. And obviously, depending on the other winemakers from other wineries in Salta, they're going to have different ideas of what they're trying to do with Malbec. But for the typical consumer, I'm almost laughing because I don't want to ask this question, but for the typical consumer that's going to ask the exact same question, which is, what's the difference between a Malbec from Mendoza and a Malbec from Calchaquí Valley? Like, okay, my feeling is that there is deeper intensity, higher freshness, and there can be more intense herbal floral notes with Calchaquí Valley Malbecs. If I was stereotyping, and potentially firmer tannins. So like Malbec is always known for having this gorgeous sweet tannins, these lovely polymerized tannins that just make it so smooth and drinkable. But there's like a slightly more firmness in the character from Calchaquí Valley. Have I got it as best as someone can, knowing that each winemaker? Yeah,
I would, if we speak of, let's say, because now Mendoza, you have very 2 different area, very, very well identified. You have the first region of Mendoza, which is around Mendoza city, on the east of Mendoza city. So here you will have, much more ripe red fruit, definitely more sweety mouth feeling, and rounder tannins. I'm totally agree. And more yummy Malbec, I would say. I would say also less complexity and less freshness than Salta. But now you have this, it's not so
Uco
new because,
Valley,
but you have
right?
Uco Valley, exactly. And with Gualtajari, I would say I love Gualtajari, but Chacajes, for example, which is a little more south of Gualtajari, you can find this kind of bright freshness, minerality that we have in Calchaquí Valley. Not the same intensity, definitely. I think that you're really right. What make the difference? But we have the both. That's why I was speaking of the paradox of Calchaquí. We have this bright acidity, freshness, sometimes minerality, like a place like Altura Máxima, but always with dark color and concentration on, like you say, fine grain tannins, but yeah, firm tannins, definitely. You have firm tannins in Uco Valley, but most of the time, you don't have this good fatness and concentration that we have. So maybe the tannins on the acidity stick stronger in the Uco Valley. And if you're going in the first region, like will be Compuerta, Luján de Cuyo, of the east of Mendoza, we will go more the sweety fruit and the fatness, but I would say less fresh and less. And Compuerta is fantastic wine. No, I don't want to be mean, but I love the wine from the first area of Mendoza. But sometimes they don't have the same complexity what we can have here. But I would say for somebody who discovering Malbec, I think the first region of Mendoza is a little bit easier to drink. And after you want to discover new style of Malbecs, that's when you go or in Salta or Uco or even Patagonia. Actually, Patagonia also, they have a totally different style of Malbec, more in the lighter style, I would say, with good freshness and rounder tannins. So yeah, that's the great thing with Malbec, actually. I'm from Beverly. So I always thought that the terroir varietal is Pinot Noir, which is, but I must say Malbec is really, really versatile. And in Argentina, it's amazing how it adapted from, now you have Otroña in the south of Argentina, and we have ourselves at 3,000 meters. And in our style, our different style, we all do great Malbec, and which is important. Every Malbec with a different character and showing the terroir of those different places. And for me, what makes this possible, that's the change of philosophy that Colomé made since 2018. It happens in all the country. We didn't invent it ourselves. My influence for doing this were wine from Mendoza from the 2016 harvest, when really there's a before and after the 2016, when we start to taste wine from Mendoza much fresher and really make change our mind. But I think this change of philosophy happens in all the country, but now really can see that Malbec is a great varietal to express the different terroir.
Interesting. In fact, yeah, there was an article, I can't remember who wrote it, and it was, is Malbec the new Pinot Noir? But it was the idea of being able to stylistically taste so different, to absorb the terroir. And actually, I think you've answered for me in a way. You know, one of my questions is, how much does high altitude affect Malbec? But the same way you talk about Gualtajari in the Uco Valley in Mendoza, I think that sits, if I'm not wrong, at about 1,700 meters. I think, isn't it?
Well,
Which
it's a big area. So I think the lower is 1,200 or maybe the higher 1,700. But now they're planting also in La Carrera, 2,000 meters. So Mendoza start to explore new area. And yeah,
Even
definitely
higher.
you have different style of Malbec. So that's why also it's very important when we speak about Malbec now, not only Mendoza Malbec, really now inside Mendoza. That's why my colleague in Mendoza are very focused on speaking about new area. It's like I was saying in France, let's say, that now they will start to speak. It's not only Mendoza, but yeah, you have Chacajes, you have Gualtajari, you have Compuerta, and all those wine, all those Malbec have a different expression. now I'm going in the shoes of consumer. It's difficult to understand those differences. So now it's our job to really explain, but it's not Malbec from Argentina. It's not Malbec from Mendoza or from Salta. It's Malbec from Hualtajari. It's Malbec from Altura Máxima. So we have to do a great work on communicating, but Malbec is not one style, and it's many style of wine. And but that's great for us, because I think if the consumers start to see that there is a different style of Malbec, he won't be tired of Malbec. He will say, yeah, I start to work. So I know Malbec from Argentina now. I'm a little bit tired. So I say, okay, I'm from Salta. Taste this wine. I say, oh my God, yes, it's very different. So it's step by step, but we are, and what Argentina is doing ourselves, but all Argentina, in almost 10 years now, really to be focused on communicate on the terroir, on the different style of Malbec.
So interesting. You said that's obviously a lot of work to be done. And what you've done is a great job in this episode explaining effectively how high altitude affects the flavors that you're going to get with Malbec. But what are the limits? Do you think, stylistically, structurally, that there's still a lot of experimentation, as in oak usage, whole bunch press, put in stems, do layers of stems, play around with carbonic maceration? I don't know. Is there still, have the limits been reached and it's more about now just perfect terroirs? Or is there a lot of playing around in the winery that can still be done with Malbec to advance it further?
No, I'm sure there's plenty. Now it's depending really what you have in your head to have this. That's why I also admire a lot the Argentinian winemakers in general, on the new generation. I used to say I was from the new generation. I don't say it too much now. But they always something new, something, and no fear to try new things. So yeah, I think there's still plenty of new style. For example, I'm doing natural Malbec. I'm try to this old bench. We make many trials, and also depend not only of the winemakers, also depend of who you're working for. In my case, Colomé always. So Donald Hess first, and now the new generation, Larissa and Christophe. They always are very open, and they let me a lot trying. So it's a lot of trying, mistake. And sometimes we're going well on that. It's always, that's the way. That's why also I love to work here. More in France, it's a little more difficult, because you have law tell you what to plant, where to plant. And so it's more difficult to have a freedom in your viticulture and winemaking here. We still have a white book, you still have to write your history. So, yeah, we still have a lot to do with Malbec, and also I would say we still have to do a lot with new varietals. That's also what's going on now with Argentinian wine. There is new exploration in new varietals, and I must say we can find now fantastic, one emblematic varietals now in Mendoza is Cabernet Franc, but in Salta we have great Tannat. We're doing a Pinot Noir at 3,000 meters, where Grenache is starting to show. So there is a lot to explore in Malbec still, but I would say even much more to explore in new or re-explore even old varietals. But we still have a lot to do with other varietals, and that's great, because I will take my own example. I am doing Malbec since 20 years. And when I plant my own vineyard, the first plant, the varietals I plant was Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvèdre. I planted Malbec, but I planted also other varietals, because I thought that was good varietals who can grow here. So we still have a lot to do and a lot to discover about Argentinian viticulture. And after this, speaking of high altitude, in this case, I think 3,100 meters is kind of we heard some people trying to plant higher, but I didn't see any wine in the market yet. I won't say it's impossible, but I think we kind of really on the limit of high altitude. Maybe you're going closer to a tropic or closer to more in the north. Maybe you can find some place you can go higher, but it starts to be quite difficult, I must say. But after this, we still have plenty of work to do to discover all the potential of Argentine terroir and Salta terroir also, no, definitely.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned that you planted a vineyard. So I assume that you are talking about your personal project, Familia Delmotte. Or is it Delmotte? Delmotte?
No, Delmotte, still.
Delmotte. Yes,
French,
of course. I should
French
have.
way.
The French way. Don't pronounce the last letter of the word. If in doubt, just do that. So what's your vision for this project? And how does this winery, just your soul, change from the work that you're doing at Colomé?
Well, I'm an associate with Colomé for doing this project. Actually, in some point, I have the feeling that I achieve what I want to do with Colomé, even though always we're inventing, always we adapt our wine, but kind of I have this feeling. So I start to speak with the owner. Actually, I came back to France thinking maybe it was time to make a change. Like I was saying before, it was difficult to come back to France because you can do great things, of course, in France, but you're a little more prisoner of what the house is saying. So I came to France, was a great experience, but I decided to come back to Argentina. And when I came back, I spoke with the owner of Colomé, and I said, okay, I'm ready to keep going with Colomé, but I need to do my own project. And they were very happy to hear this and very happy to help me to do the project. So actually Colomé sold me land in the El Arenal area. So we have this vineyard at 2,600 meters and they send me a piece of land on this area. So my vineyard is the Pajogasta area, that's the name of the town, and it's 2,600 meters altitude. And also when Chris and Larissa accept that I'm doing my own wine, of course, one condition was to stay in Colomé, and the other condition also was to do something different. And then I was very glad also because what was I wanted. So that's why I plant over varietals with the idea of doing different style of wine. So that's why always when I first tasted the Colomé wines 20 years ago, I didn't have too much experience with Malbec. But what make me remember was wine, because of the ripeness, the concentration, but at the same time, the freshness, the elegancy of the wine. It make me remember the south of Rhône Valley, Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and this kind of wine. So always I thought that Rhône Valley varietals will work nicely, but we never had the opportunity to plant any in the Colomé vineyard. So that's why the first thing I made when I plant my own vineyard, I plant Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre. I have some Marsanne also. And actually it was a very good call, I must say, because they adapted very well to the area. And I'm doing a great blend of those three red varietals, Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre. And I planted Sauvignon Blanc. Because of Altura Máxima, which is close to my vineyard, I knew the potential of Sauvignon Blanc, so I plant also the Sauvignon Blanc, but I'm blending with the Marsanne actually. So I have all the herbal, citric, acidity character of the Sauvignon Blanc, but everything like kind of calmed down because of the white fruit, honey, full body Marsanne. So it's make a very fresh white wine, but with a nice honey character, nice mouth feeling. Also, I must say a good call. I'm very happy with the style. And I plant Malbec, of course, but also I plant Bonarda. I always loved Bonarda.
Okay.
And like I was saying, I love Burgundy. I'm from Burgundy, but my other love is Beaujolais. My idea was maybe Gamay, but there's no Gamay in Argentina. So I think what is for me the closest to Gamay, so I put Bonarda, thinking of doing a fruity, fresh style of Bonarda. And so yeah, that's a great project, and also with a lot of challenge, and also a lot of bet in this case, because Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre, nobody's doing this in Calchaquí. And like I say, it was a good call. It's going very, very well. But my other call was to plant Pinot Noir, and it didn't work. So I have to take it out because yes, definitely, it's going very well in Altura Máxima because it's cooler, more stony soil. And in the warmer, sandy area, it literally sunburn the plant. So I have to take it out and I replace it. So one more time, you try, you have some good result, and sometimes you just fail. But that's a good thing. What we have here in Argentina in general, it's your decision, your call, and after the result will say if it was right or no. Nobody really, the consumer at the end of the day, tell you if it was right or not.
This is true. Now, I have so many questions from everything you just said. Okay, question number one. Can you taste your wines out of Argentina? Are you exporting anywhere?
Yeah, I start to export. It's not in the UK yet. I have it in France. I have it in Poland, in Norway. And after, Argentina mostly. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Because, I planted the vineyard in 2019, so the production's still tiny. But now, 2025, I have almost a full production in the vineyard. So I start to have enough volume to start to think about try to export a little bit more. But and I must say, all the decision I take for the same decision I take from Colomé to looking for more elegancy, more fruitiness, more drinkability in the wine, definitely make that the people like the wine, and I'm sure I will find people interested in my wine, not I will say all around the world, but I will find place to put my wine, definitely, yes.
Well, I'm interested, and actually I'm interested in all, but I just want to touch on, this is question number 2, Bonarda, because this is a great variety that so many people say, yeah, hang on a minute, you go on and on about Malbec, but actually don't forget about Bonarda. Mm-hmm. And actually, I often forget about Bonarda. I don't remember the last time I've tasted a Bonarda. If somebody asked me right now off the top of my head to describe Bonarda, I would be a bit lost. So can you, just in one sentence, how would you describe Bonarda as a grape variety, flavor-wise?
Well, there's two styles of Bonarda. The more concentrate ripe style you will be more in the black fruit profile, meaty, going a little bit to a Syrah, full-bodied, soft tannin, always very drinkable. And after you have the other Bonarda, but I will looking for it, but earlier peak, you meet in bright red fruit, a lot of cherry, good acidity, but always fine grain tannin. So for me, it's very drinkable wine. The Bonarda actually, for years, was the second most planted varietals in Argentina. If you know, Cabernet is the second. But it was used in a blend for a table wine that they named Borgoña. And it was a blend of Malbec and Bonarda. It makes a very easy to drink, but fruity, no green character style of wine. And Bonarda, it's more on the drinkability side of the wine, but you have to work it well because it can be very high yield. That's why there's so much Bonarda in Argentina, I guess. But if you work very nicely, you can have very, very good result of Bonarda. At Colomé, actually, we're doing a little Lotte Special Bonarda. But it's very little. I'm not sure it's going into the UK. But if you want to taste some good Bonarda that you can find, the fresh style, you have Colonia Las Liebres, but it's doing Altos Las Hormigas, very good. And more in the ripe style, I would say Nieto Senentiner or Emma de Zucardi. That's, for me, it's one of the emblematic Bonarda of Argentina. So I'm helping some colleague now.
And that's nice. Let's rise everybody up. And I mean, this is the point. In Argentina, there's so many beautiful wines and, there's a lot of experiments going on. And I guess just to return to you saying, 20 odd years ago, you came to Argentina. You've mentioned many times in the podcast that you are in fact French. And that is quite unusual why Argentina? Has it been for that being able to experiment and play around and explore that sense of exploration?
Well, it came after. Actually, I came as a tourist in Argentina. I was backpacking when I came to Argentina. So I had a 1 year open ticket of from Europe to South America. And I really wanted to discover South America, and particularly Argentina. But I came as a tourist and I was traveling around. And the first thing that impacted me when I arrived to Buenos Aires, that Buenos Aires looks like a city of Europe. And it's really, really similar. And I started traveling in Patagonia, Mendoza. Of course, the landscape were fantastic, but I didn't have really the feeling of being in South America. Where I found this, it was in Salta. So I really fall in love with Salta. The landscape are more what I was expecting. The culture of the people, the food also, much more Andean influence. So I really fall in love with Salta. And but I never thought I would work here. It was my 1 year trip before coming back to get serious on some job in France. So I was 26 when I make this trip, and that wasn't my idea. But when I spent several months in Salta, and in Salta I met the neighbor of Colomé. The neighbor of Colomé is like 50 kilometers away, but a French woman who lives in a farm, Luracata, which is our neighbor here in Colomé. So I met her in the Alliance Française of Salta, and she started to speak about Colomé, and she started to speak about Donald Hess planting vineyard at 2,300 meters, 2,600 meters, and they start to do noise about 3,000 meters, and simple. Well, coming from France, you think 1,000 meters, the highest vineyard. So I said, no, that's impossible. So she said, well, I don't know, I'm not from the viticulture, but I give you Donald Hess contact, and you just make contact with him and speak with him. And what I did, I no cell phone at the time, so I sent an email to Donald, and I told him, I'm a French winemaker from Burgundy traveling around, and I heard that you're the vineyards at 2,000 meters. It really intrigued me. And the answer of Donald was fantastic. He said, oh, you know what? I'm looking for winemakers. Just come to visit me. I said, oh my God, what's going on here? So I sent my resume, which was this long, and Donald invited me. So he told me, I got it on the phone. Said, okay, so it's 4-hour drive from Salta, and I expect you on next Thursday at 9:00. So, oh my God! I said, okay. So I rent a car, and I leave Salta at 5:00 in the morning. I did not arrive at 9:00. I arrived almost 11:00 because it's not an easy road. It's at the time was unpaved. 100% of the road was unpaved. Now we have half paved, half unpaved. But this mountain road, you have to go up the hill. And I didn't know about the road. So I arrived very late. I thought, oh my God. I thought, this Swiss guy will be, time is important, But now I arrived and I saw him and start to laugh. I said, my God, let's go here. Is he crazy? That was his first nickname of Donald in the Calchaquí, the Gringo Loco. So, not because... mostly because doing this exploring high altitude vineyard and planting in area that nobody never planted anything. But he started to laugh and I say, well, what's so funny? And look, why is this? Why the car he rent? So I rent a little Volkswagen Golf. He said, well, no, but you have to rent a 4-wheel drive to come here. Well, I'm poor, So but we start this way, and what I quickly saw with him, he has me as a resume, but you just have a little look at it. But what he wants to see is me. He really wants to speak. He wants to look at me, how I react, and how I was going around the area. When I came in 2004, it was like pharaonic work in Colomé. They were building the hotel, building the place to catch water, putting a hydroelectric turbine because there were no electricity. Planting vineyard everywhere. It was crazy people everywhere. And what really catch me, I would say, it was Donald stopping everywhere, speaking with everybody, speaking of what's going on in the world, but also speaking what's going in his house, or is the family. Always very with his poor Spanish, but they make it to people understand me. And I saw the respect of the people for him. Because, I thought more to meet an eccentric millionaire doing a crazy thing, but I really saw that he has not only a project, a business project, but also the social project that really catch me. And after we spent the day together, I start to be very enthusiastic about the project. And after we taste the wine, and after he told me this, what he really liked my honesty, at the time, his best, it was blind tasting. That's why also I was so honest. So his best wine, the Colomé Reserva, I really didn't like it. I tell him, this one is too ripe, too oaky, too big. You have one glass and that's it. I wasn't not just Donald and myself. There were like 5-6 people around and look at me like this. Oh my God. So I did like the Reserva, but I loved the estate already. I really love the fruitiness, the freshness, the balance of the wine. And I think that's why also make him listen to me. I was renting the car for one day. So after destroying his best wine, I say, I have to leave. And I say, okay, we'll phone you. I thought, no, this guy will never phone me. And actually, yeah, he phoned me and he told me, I like your point of view on the drinkability. So the Reserva is a Reserva, the style is, that's what I like. You can't touch this, but I like your point of view on doing more drinkable wine for the other label of Colomé. So he told me, you would like to come to work? So I was quite concerned. I said, well, Donald, of course, but your project is big. You see my experience. I won't be able to manage this size of vineyard and winery. And he told me something I remember all my life. So don't worry, we will grow together. He was already 65 years old, you know. I said, my God, that was just like a little baby. And so I said, yeah, don't worry, because we just all starting this story. So we will do mistake, but I'm sure we will go in the right direction. So what can I say? Say yes, I want to be part of it. And one of the condition was, because it was, as I'm saying now, it's very far away. When in 2004 or 2005, when I started to work for Colomé, there were no electricity, so we have to produce our own electricity, no cell phone reception, internet only in the office. So very difficult. You have to be prepared or not prepared. I don't know, for this kind of experience. So he told me, the only thing I ask you, you have to stay at least 3 or 4 hours. I need somebody who can do a continuity, because before me was the winemaker of California. Donald was the owner of S Collection Winery of California. He's still part of the group. And the winemaker was flying to Colomé, doing the harvest, doing the blend, and go back to California. So it's when the products start to grow, you need somebody in the place. So I said, okay, yeah, it will be nice line on my very short resume. So I say yes, thinking I will be 4 or 5 years in Colomé, and now I'm 20 years.
Well, here you are. And what a legacy. And here we are. I should say congratulations on being named one of the world's best vineyards. So that is incredible. And you've actually been in the top 50 world's best vineyards 5 times, right?
5 times exactly, yes. Well, when I tell this story, and I remember when I arrived here, on what we achieved in 20 years, I just can't believe it, but I did it. But we did it. So we have a great team. What makes very strong Colomé, but we have a heart of worker who are here since almost the beginning. We have the vineyard manager and myself. We're working together since 20 years, and we just understand ourselves very, very well. And that's the key. You know, the vineyard and the winemaking are the same people, not the same thing, because we evolved with the time, but the same people who really know what each one has in his mind. It's fantastic. So the continuity, and the same with the hospitality area. Constanza, Connie is there since almost day one. So with some key people of the company that's here since 20 years, and also very important that right now, people are going in Colomé. Of course, they don't know Donald. But ourselves, we live with Donald. We know Donald and Ursula philosophy, and we know the kind of people they were. Very, very exigent. Very can be tough in the day-to-day work, but also so human. It was just amazing to work with them. But something we have inside us, and luckily enough, the new generation, Larissa and Chris, have the same philosophy. So you have a continuity of what Donald and Ursula start. And yeah, this award, I must say, we know, of course, we have a unique place, a unique terroir. The landscape is fantastic, but really to make this kind of award happen, we have to work hard in the vineyard, to have the beautiful vineyard, in the wine, of course, to be very consistent on the wine. And of course, in the hospitality area, very, very warm people, always wanted to share the Colomé experience, which is not only landscape and the wine, it's also the people experience. All the people working in the hospitality area, are from Colomé. There is around 400 people living in Colomé. So all the people were formed or taught by Ursula herself, actually. And the people were very shy. They won't speak to people. And now you saw it. The experience of people, they're so glad to see all the people can communicate the experience of Colomé. And of course, wine tasting, the winery, we have a great restaurant, the 9-room hotels, all this make the experience fantastic. And of course, the James Turrell Museum, which is unique in the world. And that's definitely like you said, the cherry and the
cherry on the top of the cake.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big argument of this award, definitely. Yeah.
So what is so unique about the James Turrell Museum?
Well, James Turrell is an artist who worked with light, can be natural light, artificial light, on the architecture of the room. So basically, he's playing with your optical. You see something where it's not. Yeah, and so it's very difficult to explain. You have to come to visit us. But basically, we have a museum of 1,000 square meters, so it's big, and it's only 9 pieces of art because they are big room where actually the light. Look, easy example: you enter in a room, it looks like there's a cube floating in the room, but you go inside and you see there's nothing. It's just the impression of there's other piece of art were much more impressive. Actually, there's another one. It looks like a blue paint on the wall, but you see there is stairs going to the blue paint. You say, why is that? Actually, you go up the stairs and it's not a blue paint. You're going in another room, but you didn't see. You can see in you can't see, but and you go inside and everything is blue as it's a new. You lose all the sense of ubication. You don't know where you are. And also we have the sky space, but it's sky open piece of art. And you start this piece of art when it's daylight, but you know that sunset. So you know that something is going on, but at some point you don't know if it's day, night. You see the sky is green, around you is pink. You're very disoriented. You lose your sense, and that's super adapted to where we are because we are in the middle of nowhere with a super pure sky and there's no light contamination, no noise, nothing. So you're going in this museum and you're just forgetting where you are. So it's very, very well adapted, but also very challenging because Mr. Turrell is not coming to build the museum. He sold you a plan of the piece of art and you have to do it. Yeah. So actually, that's a unique museum because of, I can say it's quite high technology because of all those lights, but we build it ourselves, but people from Colomé who built it. Of course, Turrell and his assistant, they came and he has to be everything perfect, but the guy from Colomé built it. And when Turrell came in 2007, I think we inaugurated, or 9, I can't remember now. I think 2009 maybe. Inaugurate the museum. I'm the lucky guy. I make the first tour with Donald and Turrell together, and I saw the emotion of Turrell, and I said to Donald, "Well, that's exactly what I want to express with the art." It was really a fantastic experience, and that's something really we want to share with the people coming here. So yeah, the museum definitely is a big part of the success of Colomé, definitely.
I love this. Wine, art, landscape, happy people, community, history. So, okay, we're all inspired listening, but you've told us from Salta itself, if you've got a good enough car, it's still going to take us 4 hours to get
Yeah,
to you. Is that correct?
yeah, exactly.
Fine. Okay. But that is the only way, unless, we just arrive on our helicopter that we all have. We have to fly into Salta, hire a car, and put aside at least the 4 hours, and then we can come and stay in one of the 9 rooms. I've seen the beautiful pool
Yeah,
overlooking the vineyards and the mountain range. Okay, it's a
yeah.
plan.
But no, if you come to visit us, you have to do it in step. So you arrive to Salta. So Salta is already 2 hours flight from Buenos Aires. And you arrive to Salta, and always my advice is going first to Cafayate. So you're doing Salta Cafayate, which actually it's a beautiful landscape, a lot of colored mountain, red, greeny. It's really beautiful, and it's paved. So this part of the road is paved, and it's let's say 3 hours drive if going slowly. And you arrive to Cafayate. Cafayate is around 20,000 people. It's very touristic, so you have a lot of hotel and a lot of wine tourism experience. We have Amalaja, which is our other winery in Cafayate, but we have several other wineries who offer the tasting, of course, but also lunch, all the wine experience. So that's a good first step. And also, you don't go so high in one step. So Salta is 1,200 meters and Cafayate is 1,700 meters. So you're going slowly in higher elevation. So you can spend 1 or 2 nights in Cafayate. And after Cafayate to Colomé, it's 2.5 hours, 3 hours drive. That's unpaved. That's the famous Ruta 40, the 40 road across all the country from Bolivia to Tierra del Fuego, and that's unpaved. So you have a beautiful landscape. It's much more going on the moon. It's much more desertic area with weird stone, and it's unique. You have to come to see it. And after this 3-hour drive, you arrive to Colomé. So in this case, you have 2 options. Or you start early from Cafayate, you come for the day experience of Colomé, which is tasting, lunch, and Turrell Museum. And after you can go to a closest town, Molinos or Calchaquí, to have the night. But the best way, of course, is to stay in Colomé. We have a beautiful 9-room hotels, but where you have the full experience, because it's not easy to arrive. So if you do it in the day, maybe you get a bit tired. You look at your work, I have to leave. So the best way is really to stay in the place. And that's where you have the same experience, tasting the food and the James Turrell experience. But on the top of this, we have the swimming pool of the hotel, horse riding. So on walking around, that's the really beautiful. There's no TV in the room, so you can't stay in the room looking at TV. You have to go outside, and you can enjoy nice walking around, horse riding, or just hanging out on the swimming pool. So it's a great experience. And after, when you leave Colomé, not coming back to Cafayate, you're still going up, and you're going to the very nice town of Calchaquí, which is, I think, 5,000 people. And one more time with hotels and a very high altitude experience, which is 2,600 meters, I think, Calchaquí, very beautiful town. And from Calchaquí, you're going back to Salta through the Cuesta del Obispo. So you go up to, I think it's 3,700 meters. And after you go down in a mountain road, you go easy, it's one motor is unpaved. And after you come back to Salta, it's, I would say, to have the good, not too tough Calchaquí experience, you have 5 days, I would say.
Okay.
Salta, Cafayate, Colomé, Calchaquí, and doing all that. And it's amazing. It's fantastic. It's really unique.
I was going to say, it sounds like nothing else. And sometimes the most beautiful things in life are things that take effort. So for everyone listening, I feel like we all need to look into this. I'm inspired. It just makes me think, let's not just jump on a plane and go to the beach. Let us get out in nature. Let's go around some rocky mountainside roads, feel a little bit grateful for being alive in those moments, and finish off with a lovely glass of Colomé wine.
Yeah, definitely.
Overlooking
A
those
glass of
vineyards.
Torrontés close to the swimming pool of Colomé, that's one of the best thing who can happen.
Thibaut, thank you so much for taking us on this beautiful journey. And I think everyone is convinced that we all need to get to know your wines more. Torrontés, Malbec from Salta, high altitude, old vines. So you've got it all. So thank you for sharing everything.
Thank you very much, Nina. I have a great time. And yeah, hopefully people will be more interesting on the wine, not only us, Argentinian wine in general, and Salta wine in particular. And yeah, come to visit us. That's really a one-time experience, definitely.
Totally is. I'm on it. Thank you. Until next time, take care.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, surely Salta has to be on the bucket list for any traveller and nature lover. And after listening to this episode, Bodega Colomé is certainly on mine. Now, next week, we're diving into the fascinating world of Coravan and tiny wine. Many of you might already know Coravan, that game-changing technology I mentioned at the start of this season, and it lets you pour wine without pulling the cork, preserving every drop. But tiny wine? Well, that's all about tiny pours made possible by Coravan's cutting-edge technology called Vineyards. So just think of it as the smallest bottling line in the world. It's going to be a fantastic episode all about making fine wine approachable, with loads of wines to explore, incredible regions to discover, plus insights into wine technology, Bordeaux, Super Tuscans. You don't want to miss it. Before we go, though, a quote, as always, and this one is from Paul Tillich, who is, or was, a renowned German-American theologist. And he said, "Wine is like the incarnation. It is both divine and humane." After learning about Salta's remoteness and the journey you have to go on to get there, this quote kind of resonated with me. Right, if you enjoyed this episode, please do take a moment to rate, share, save, like the podcast. Your support helps us keep bringing you the best in wine and, well, travel. And to leave you with a positive thought for the week, life is like wine. The more you explore, the richer the experience. Until next Monday, wine friends, cheers to you.